I think my 125-gallon cichlid community tank is one of the coolest tanks I've ever seen in person, and I wanted to share with you some of my experience keeping these peaceful cichlids in a heavily planted tank. Hey, it's Brock here with Uncommon Aquatics, and today I want to talk about my 125-gallon planted community tank that is chocked full of cichlids. And the fact that those are things that, in theory, or common knowledge about aquariums says that cichlids don't go well in planted tanks and they don't go well in community tanks. And, you know, I'm not saying anything groundbreaking. I'm repeating all the research I've done from other great YouTube videos about the best cichlids for a community tank, the best cichlids for a planted tank. I've acquired a lot of those cichlids. I've tried a couple in here that maybe are not on that list. And then there's a couple more I've got ordered I'll be adding next week. So today I want to talk about my experience with some of these peaceful, plant-safe cichlids and how they do in my community tank. So I'll start with my absolute favorite fish in this aquarium, which is the electric blue acara. I've had this one right here since I set this tank up. And I'll try to get some close-ups on all these fish as I talk about them. I like this blue acara so much. I think he's the perfect fish for a tank like this. When you're looking for, I want a showpiece fish. Like I've got 50 tetras in here, and some danios, and some loaches, and some cories, and all these are activity fish, but I want something that pops and draws your eye. And I think that blue acara is perfect for a tank like this, because they get to be about 5 or 6 inches, pretty good size, pretty thick, fat fish with a lot of personality. I almost feel like he's a miniature Oscar, but you couldn't have an Oscar in a tank like this. So I think that electric blue acara might be the perfect fish for a tank like this. And I like him so much that I've decided on my new rack system I'm setting up for my wall of aquariums over here, I'm going to breed electric blue acaras. So for a tank like this, I think one electric blue acara is perfect, but I have 4 in here because this one's bigger and the others are very small. I was intentional about only getting small fish for this aquarium so they can grow out together, and the ones that get bigger will be less likely to pick off the smaller fish or bully them. So I've got 4 electric blue acaras in here, but if this was my only aquarium and I had no other plans, I would just have the one. Because any type of peaceful cichlid that forms a breeding pair is all of a sudden going to become aggressive towards the smaller fish. Unless they just have plenty of room and it's a difficult situation to manage. So my idea for this aquarium is individuals of the showpiece fish. So we got the electric blue acara. The next is the Geophagus. I have a Geophagus tapajos. I chose it because it's a very peaceful, well-colored fish, but it also stays smaller among all of the tapajos cichlids. And I think tapajos is a great match for an electric blue acara. Similar size, similar temperament. Even this tapajos might get a little bit bigger than the acara, but not enough that I think we'll have an aggression problem within a 125-gallon tank. The next choice, to me, was very obvious for an aquarium like this, and that is angelfish. And my story with the angelfish is exactly like it is with the acara. I was only going to get one angelfish. Now I think I'm going to try to breed angelfish in my aquarium system. So currently I have 2 in here, but it's hard to tell male and female. If they are the same gender, I'll keep 2 in here. If they are not and they pair off and they want to lay eggs, they're going to go get their own tank and I'll just have 1 angel in here. I'm either going to have 1 angel or 2 in here. The angels I got, I've always had black and white angels in the past. And I always enjoyed keeping angels. But the koi angels and the variants of the kois have really changed a lot over the last 20 years with the color options you've got. And I've got a couple really nice koi angels that I chose with almost no black on them. The next cichlid I have in this tank is a crabensis. Beautiful, beautiful fish. And all of these fall into the same category. I wish I want to have like 6 of them in here because they stay small and they're beautiful and you could have a whole tank full of them. But if they pair off, then they'll be an aggression problem. And I really don't want that. So I have 1 crabensis in here. The next fish is not a cichlid at all, but it's a good fit with these cichlids, and that is a dwarf gourami that gets to about 4 inches. If you'll notice a pattern here, with all this space, I'm looking for fish that are big enough to be eye catchers among the little tetras and the smaller fish, but not so big that they dominate the space. So my gourami can get to about 4 inches, the maximum, and it's a good temperament fit with the other fish I've got. The next choice in a non-cichlid is killifish. And I've got 2 killifish, which I actually only asked the shopkeeper for 1, and he gave me 2 kind of, I don't know if he didn't hear me right or what happened, but I ended up with 2 of them, and they've been in here since I set the tank up, and they're doing really well. Now, I also think these mollies are not a good fit. They kind of pester everything else. And if they were going to be a complete community tank, a bunch of mollies in here would be nice. But I think the mollies are going to get their own breeding tank. I've got, I believe, 2 pregnant mollies, and those babies will not survive in this tank. So I believe I'm going to set up a separate breeding tank for mollies as well. So the next thing we have is polar blue parrot cichlids. And I've heard very strong variation in the temperament of these fish. I've had them described to me by a local shop owner as being a peaceful fish that only gets to 4 or 5 inches. Their mouths are very small, so they're going to fit in with the tapajos and the acara and the angelfish as mildly aggressive, but not enough to cause a problem. I've got the polar blue, and I've got a platinum that looks kind of like an albino. Very cool fish. But I wouldn't put a regular parrotfish in here because they get to be 8 inches or more. The polar blues only get to be 4 or 5. My understanding is these polar blues are a hybrid between a regular parrotfish and a convict. The convict being smaller but more aggressive and a fast breeder, and the parrot being bigger and a little less aggressive. So now we're going to get into the cichlids I have ordered and the ones that may not be a good fit long term in this aquarium. And those are going to be learning curves I have to find out over time. But the non-cichlid community fish in this tank is 6 marble loaches. I originally thought about doing clown loaches, but they overgrow the aquarium and they can become kind of a pest, just harassing other fish. And it's possible these marbled loaches could do the same, but they stay much smaller at around 4 inches. And I've been told that they're even less of a nuisance fish to the other fish in the tank than a yo-yo loach. So I started with clown loaches, then I was going to do yo-yo, ended up with a marbled loach. And so far, they've been pretty good. Then I've got 4 African dwarf frogs. Is it possible that eventually one of these cichlids may want to eat the frog? Possible. We'll find out over time. I'm hoping not. I've got 2 bristlenose, 4 autocinklus cats, and 6 Sterbai corridoras. All of these stay very small, don't occupy that much space. I do think I've made a mistake with the overall stocking here of mixing too many fish that live on the bottom. I was thinking of all the fish I just listed as my bottom dwellers and the cichlids as a mid-level fish, but the cichlids spend so much time on the bottom that it gets very competitive for food on the bottom of the tank. So more than likely, some of these bottom dwellers will be rehomed. And then I've got about 30 or 40 tetras in here that are out of 2 species that are very similar. There's serpae tetras and candy cane tetras. They have the same body shape, the same red coloration. The biggest difference between them is the candy cane tetras are white on their top and bottom fins, whereas the serpae are black. So now we come to the 2 cichlids I have in here that aren't a perfect fit for my criteria. One is a festivum, also known as a flag cichlid. Some people think of it as kind of a boring choice for a cichlid. It's not very big, it's not very aggressive, it's not very colorful, but it fits all the criteria to be a good choice in here. Fairly peaceful, it will get along, it'll be the right size. Unfortunately, it's a little bit of a plant eater, and this tank is not heavily planted right now, although it's got a lot more plants you can't see down here. Let's take a look. Over time, this is going to be a jungle tank. I just didn't buy all the plants at once. Once these fill in and propagate, this is going to be a heavily planted tank. It may be a problem for my planting having the Festivus in here. The next fish falls exactly in the same category as the Festivus, but he has two problems. I've got a Uaru, U-A-R-U. Some people say it like Waru, like it starts with a W, but I think it's Uaru. And it's a beautiful fish. The King of DIY has some awesome videos on those. They're peaceful, but they get a little too big. They're going to get to about 10 inches, and they are plant eaters. So at a 4 to 5 inch size today, it's a great match for the other fish in here. At its maximum size, it's probably too much. And we'll have to make a decision on what to do with the Uaru at a later date. Do I let him eat my plants and make this just a South American tank? I don't think I want to. I want it to be a planted tank. Does he get his own tank? We'll just have to see over time. And I hate to be the guy who buys something, but the local fish store owner was telling me all about this fish. I'm like, that sounds like a perfect choice for my aquarium. I got home and watched videos, go, oh, he's more of a plant eater and he gets too big. So that was my fault not doing all of my research on it. Now I've got a few more cichlids ordered. I've got a keyhole cichlid ordered. It's very similar to the Festivum in appearance, but less of a plant eater. Then I've got a topaz cichlid ordered. And I'm going to be adding some more ram cichlids, which are a great choice. So I've been keeping aquariums for over 20 years, but this exact type of setup with the plants mixed with the mid-sized peaceful South American and Central American cichlids is something new for me, so I'm learning as I go. Hopefully this gives you some ideas on stocking your aquarium or things you may want to do or may not want to do. I appreciate you taking time to watch the video. I'll put links on the screen to a couple more of our videos, and I'll see you next time.